Hello everyone, this is Jason from Primetime Aquatics. We recently did a video on how to get rid of snails. Now we personally don't mind snails in our fish room, but I know some of you might not like them. I'm going to go ahead and put a card in the upper right hand corner so you can check that video out. That video will also be in the description below. However, in that video I very briefly mentioned that there are snail traps available, and I didn't really expand on that. Well, here we have this. This is a Sera brand snail trap. We got this from Aquarium Co-Op. Thank you very much, Aquarium Co-Op. We're going to go ahead and test this snail trap, see how it works, so stay tuned. So let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and unbox this snail collector. The directions to put this together are on the back here, and then of course you've got the picture on the front. When we open up the box, let's see what we have. We have a little Ziploc bag full of parts and pieces. And then it looks like we have the collection tray as well. And so we're going to put this together. We're going to find a tank to put it in, and then we're going to see how it does. So let's go ahead. We're going to open up this bag, take a closer look, see what's in here. So this looks like it is the top of the snail trap here. And then we've got these pieces here. These are going to have to be popped out and then placed in the snail trap. We've got this here. And then we've got a couple other pieces. And then it looks like we may have perhaps some enticing food for the snails to enjoy to get them to come into this snail trap. So I'm going to go ahead and pop all these pieces out the way that we need to, and we're going to go ahead and get this thing assembled. So this is the tray that the snails are going to be trapped in. We've got to go ahead and install these pieces here. These are the pieces that are going to be used to trap the snails in once they enter. And so there are actually two little notches here. The ones that are closer to the edges, those are the ones that we use for these pieces here. And of course one goes on each side. And it's easiest if you just kind of put this on an angle and let these things kind of rest in there, and they kind of just snap right in. And so now we've got these things on either side, as we can see here. And so the next thing we want to do is, of course, we want to put the top on because we don't want the snails coming off the top. And so this thing, they have these little notches right here on the sides, and those are going to fit right in the notches that are on the bottom tray. And so this piece is just going to kind of snap in like so. All right, so now what we have to deal with is the fact that the snails are going to enter from this area here. They're going to go in, and we don't want fish going in here. And so as part of this, we have these little pieces here, and we broke these pieces off. And these are going to prevent the snails, or I'm sorry, the fish from entering in the thing. Now, what we have as we snap these pieces off, there are going to be different sizes. Some of them are a little bit longer than others. These are designed to be the pieces, there's 4 of them that go on the corners. And what you do is you just kind of push these things through, and on the very bottom, after they snap in, as we'll see here in a moment, so as this thing kind of snaps in like this, we then turn this piece, and that locks it into place so that it can't move. And again, we're looking for the 4 longer pieces. If I was really smart, I would have probably set them aside beforehand, but whatever. So we'll go ahead, push these in, turn them, and that's going to lock these into place. We've got the other 2 here for the other side. And again, these things, as we see here, they just kind of slide right in, and then they turn in, they lock in. And again, we have the last one. So at this point, this is locked into place. This top isn't going anywhere for the most part. Now what we have to do is, this is really dependent upon the fish that you're keeping in your tank and the size of the snails that you have in your tank. Because right now, this is the directions say, if I were to get the directions, let me find the box here. Hold on one moment. If you look here, you can see you can add in as many of the other pieces as you want to get a good gauge as to how big you want the openings to be. So if you've got baby fish or maybe some coolie loaches or something like that, you're going to want to put more of these plastic pieces in to kind of block out the potential for fish to enter the snail trap. And again, it really does depend also on the the types of snails that you have. And so again, I just put these in and then we turn them sideways. And I think for the most part, we're gonna be okay with doing pretty much every other one or so. We might add in a few extras just because the fish in the tank that we're putting this in, they're not too big, but they are on the juvenile side. So here we've got kind of this pattern going on. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just add a couple more. There's enough so you can put them in each one of the holes that we see. But I think if we do something more similar to this, just close up these larger holes just a little bit, we're gonna be in good shape. That's going to allow us to have the snails enter and not the fish, because that would be a kind of a mess if you come downstairs and your fish are trapped. So I think for me and in the tank that we have, this situation here is going to work out pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and match this pattern for the most part to the other side, and I think we'll be in good shape. Okay, so this is pretty similar to the other side. It doesn't really have to be exact. I think we're in good shape. Again, the idea here is to keep the fish out, get the snails in. The next step is we now have this piece here. This is the part that actually goes on the top. And so it slides in here and you're gonna put food in this. Now this snail trap, they come with the Sera O-Nip tab. So we're just gonna go ahead and break this one out of here and put it in there. But you could probably use any type of sinking pellet, or maybe you've got a piece of cucumber, or maybe some rapashi, some gel-based food. And this thing, I'm just putting it in here like this, as you can see. And it's gonna go right in the top like that. And the idea here is, again, the snails are going in, not the fish, and we're gonna go ahead and get this hooked up to a tank, or on a tank, and we'll go from there. So this is the tank I've chosen. It's a 23-gallon bow front. It's got a couple of bristlenose plecos in here. It's also got a small group of Mbuna cichlids, but they're large enough where they're not going to get caught in that snail trap. As you can see, there are snails in this fish tank, and again, the goal here is to see, is this going to work? Will this snail trap begin to trap some of these snails, and then I can trap these snails, and I've got a lot of fish that will eat them. And in fact, the fish that are in this tank, as they get older, will probably take care of this snail population as well. But we're trying to see if this snail trap is going to function well, so let's go ahead, we'll put it in here and see how it does. Now again, the directions imply that maybe you have to use a rock or something to kind of weigh this thing down. It doesn't look like that's the case. It looks like it's going to stay down just fine. So we're going to go ahead, we'll leave that in overnight, and we're going to see tomorrow morning what happens. I have no idea if this is going to work or not, but stay tuned. Okay, I just came down here. The lights have been off all night. Oh my gosh, never in a million years would I have thought that this snail trap was going to look like this. Not in a million years. I was hoping to come down here and get, I don't know, like, I'd be happy with like, oh look, we caught 6, 8, or 10. This whole thing is completely packed full of snails. There are literally like maybe 5 snails left, 6 snails left in the entire tank. Look at this thing. This is crazy. Let me give you a closer look here. Hold on. Are you ready for this? Look at this. The entire thing is absolutely, positively packed full of snails. I would say this was a huge success, wouldn't you? Look at that. So now what we can do is we can take these snails out and we can feed them to all kinds of different types of fish. And we're going to go ahead and do that next. So this is a great place to put the snails. The Oscar loves the snails. Chaz, Timmy the tilapia, he loves them. The OB, the red devil, I think they're going to enjoy this little snack. So let's see how they do. So to get these things off, again, look at all these snails. To get this off, all we have to do is we have to line up all these little things that we twisted in, like so. So we've got to just go ahead and get these out of here. Look at all these snails. So we often get asked what kind of fish eat snails, and I said in the snail video when we did it, there are lots of different fish that will eat snails, and I think this is a really good example. Again, we've got the Oscar, the tilapia, the OB down there is having a snack. All right, so I think that snail trap worked out pretty well. A big thank you to Aquarium Co-Op for sending it to us. If you're interested, once again, I will put a link in the description below. I think it's well worth the money. Really easy to assemble, super easy to use. You put some food in there, you stick it in the tank, and the next morning you've got a bunch of snails. We can use Repashy for that, sinking pellets, pretty much anything that's going to attract the snails into that trap I think will work out just fine. We're going to try it in some other tanks in addition to the one that we did. Again, I will put a link in the description below for the other video that we did talking about how to remove snails. So if you like this video, share, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.